I asked, and you said, yes, we are very interested in this topic. So today we'll be talking about what are the most common reasons for dropping out of your Armenian, Georgian or Azerbaijani studies and courses. I've collected some data for the last 3 years, more or less, of our courses in Języki Caucasus, languages of the Caucasus, both in group classes and individual ones, and we'll discuss the 3 common reasons why people are dropping out of a course. We're so fortunate, I would say, or fortunate enough to know why people really drop out in, I would say, over 90 of the cases if they decide to stop on their course. So I'll share the perspective of our students. I'm not sure what is the perspective of other students, so that's why let's look at our statistics. But taking into consideration how many students we already had along the years gives you a good picture of what are the reasons. And of course, I wouldn't be myself if I didn't add to these reasons for dropping some kind of a remedy for each and every, like a strategy, how to prevent them, wherever it is, of course, possible, and whatever we are doing, for example, for our students in situations like that. I would say that I think that when you sign up for a course, and then you have to drop out, it's rather sad situation, maybe not a tragic one, but still something that you were not planning. So that's why I always try to help our students, and maybe that will help you as well to eliminate situation like that. And if you are listening to the Caucasus podcast for the first time, hello, welcome. My name is Asha, and I'm the owner of Języki Caucasus, languages of the Caucasus, which is publishing the Caucasus podcast. And also, this is one of the very few places in the world where you can learn Georgian, Armenian, and Azerbaijani. We are specializing in teaching adults these languages. We have group courses, online courses, and also textbooks for the languages right now for Georgian, and we are planning the ones for Armenian and Azerbaijani. And we are also giving you some additional information and pieces of information about the Caucasus in general, culture, literature, and much more. And in today's episode, we'll be talking about learning, because we are recording that in September. So in lots of countries in September, just after summer, we are starting with new courses, school, etc. So let's look why really people are not only signing up from this perspective, but then not continuing their studies. So in the previous episode, we have recently discussed the fact that Georgian is completely possible to learn, no more difficult than any other language, or at least any other language that I can compare with. And just if you're listening to this for the first time, I know a total of 8 different languages, and I've studied over 15 in my life, so including Chinese and Japanese. So I have some comparison, let's say. And we were talking there that some people are a little bit afraid that they hear Georgian is so difficult. They, by the way, also hear the same about Armenian, that they decide not to study. But if they decide, my goal, let's say, in our teachers in Języki Caucasus, is to help you as much as we are able to, that you won't be dropping out, and then you will be learning the languages. And today we'll be not talking about self-study, so the moment that you are learning on your own without any teacher, because this is a separate category. If you'll be interested, we can also do separate episodes about Georgian, Armenian, and Azerbaijani, and learning on your own, because also I can tell you from my own perspective, because I've went the path of learning Georgian, Armenian, and Azerbaijani without any teacher for some time, and also I have other, let's say, experiences as being a teacher of not only language but lots of other things, in business as well, for over 10 years now, over 15. Oh gosh, yes, over 15. So let's go and save today's topic. And I just wanted to underline that we'll be talking about situation when you are not planning to stop. It is unplanned stop in learning Georgian or Azerbaijani because of some situations that happened. You are not expecting that, and then as a result you have to decide that you are dropping out. And this is not a situation, because we also have the second option. If we're talking about stopping the learning process, this is the moment when you decide, okay, I know enough for now, so I end or I suspend my studies process. And we have situations like this on our courses, for example, on individual ones, when you are enrolling and we are discussing what really you would like to know. For example, you are preparing before the trip to the Caucasus, or you want to prepare for the meeting of the family, or prepare for the conference in speaking in this languages, etc. So we have this is totally different story. But today we'll be talking about dropping out that is unplanned, let's say. So the first reason this is dropping out a course because you're, let's say, falling behind. So alternatively, you can say that you're stopping your studies because the language seems for you too difficult. Like, oh, this is so difficult, I cannot keep up with the group, for example. So to be honest, I closely monitor the data about this particular factor in our courses. I have been monitoring that for many years already. And I always try to find some remedy for that. And I can tell you that I know that in group courses, this is the most often because and due to irregular attendance during the classes. So you are just not coming, not dialing into the class, especially at the beginning. So we know that things can change during the week. Some things happen, pop up, you even on the day of the class, although you have planned that each and every Saturday or Sunday or Wednesday, etc., you will have time to learn, but then some things happen. So that's why we have alternative option. When you are not present during one class, then our students have access to, let's say, a course journal, let's say a document where we note everything in detail, what was discussed during the lesson, which exercise were done from the study book and textbook, and what is the homework, and what is alternative for example, speaking exercises if you are not present, etc. So then when you will have time before the next class, you can come, read and review that yourself and prepare simply for the next class. And this is very useful, especially if you are not present during one class and then you are in the majority of the other lessons. Additionally, what we do from the curriculum and program perspective, that we review the information from previous lessons. For example, you were not present when we started talking about one, let's say, grammatical topic. And then during the next lesson or the subsequent classes, the next lesson, etc., we are reviewing that, we are looking at this, we are discussing, we are doing lots of exercises from looking at that from different angles, so that you won't really miss a single topic entirely. This is not what we do. We want to give you for sure 50 new words and a grammatical topic, and we'll say, okay, great, so study this on your own and let's meet during next lesson and we'll discuss the next one. No, this is totally not how we are teaching, and this is not how you should learn, definitely. So that is why if you are not present during one lesson, then there is not a problem, because we'll be reviewing that together during the next lesson, and you'll have materials to prepare a little bit on your own. So group courses, just in general, are group for people who can actually attend classes for, I'd say, bare minimum. This is 70-80% of the time. The best would be if you know that you can be on 190%, and then life happens. So this 80% is bare minimum. But especially for the courses when we start from the alphabet, so it's A11 in our general programs. it's best to attend the first few classes, like obligatory even, I would say, as that's when we work a lot on pronunciation, remembering the new letters. We are doing lots of exercises together, and it is much, much easier if you are especially not used to learning on your own. All our classes are online, so you can attend classes anywhere, wherever you are in this moment. The main part is that you'll have the internet access, so you can do that. And this is also to prevent you from not being able to commute to the school as such. Our students, for example, connect from not only from house after work or before work, they connect also sometimes from the offices, from work, from the holidays, vacations. If there are, no matter on which continent they are, they are participating, or even from the car, from the airports, etc. As long as you have the internet connection. Yeah, so that's as I said, in a majority of situations, it is the most important is that you will participate in the classes. So if you know that you'll be attending less often than this 80-90% that I mentioned, then maybe individual study or individual lessons with us, or our, for example, self-study materials would be much better situation, because then, simply put, if you miss, for example, 2-3 classes, especially in a row, then let's be honest, it's very hard to catch up before the next one, because probably if you miss the classes, you won't have time as well in between to look at the materials, etc. So then you probably it will be the evening before the classes, or just a couple of hours before the classes, and they say, okay, I have to revise everything what was and to be prepared, and this is simply impossible, to be honest. So let's go to strategy number 1 of learning Georgian, Armenian, or Azerbaijani, especially during the on the courses with a teacher. So if you are in a group course, come to the class, simply as that. So participate, dial in, etc. Even if you don't have homework or you haven't reviewed the new words, the new topics from the last lesson, it doesn't really matter. The main part is that you are there. The worst thing, really, what you can do for your study process is to think like that. Oh, I won't go today because I haven't time to review. I didn't really review what was last time. So then I have a great idea. I will learn in the incoming week and then I will go. To be honest, in over 15 years of my process of teaching adults and experience in this field, I've never seen this approach to work, really. It almost always leads up to just giving up because of different reasons, as I mentioned, think, oh, this group goes too fast, this is too hard for me, etc. And learning Armenian, Georgian, or Azerbaijani, this is really not a sprint or quick run up the hill in just this particular moment, and then we'll see. It is more well-paced marathon. So then it means that this month maybe you'll go learn slower, but you just attend the classes and you'll try to revise a little bit on your own. Then the next month maybe you'll have more time, and then you will study more and revise, etc. And then maybe it will be a little bit slower. But in general, you'll keep learning more and more as a result, not stopping, just going slower, faster, but still going further. So even if it's not as fast as you thought at the beginning or you imagined it will be, etc., because very often we just imagine things will happen much faster than they really are. So even if you haven't reviewed something before the lesson, you'll memorize it really through the listening, doing exercises in the class, reading, speaking, listening to other people doing exercises. And that's what's really effective learning is all about. So I can assure you, we also, I can tell from our perspective, not the perspective of every teacher of Georgian, Armenian, and Azerbaijani, but in Języcznie Caucasus, in languages of the Caucasus, we also have our own methods for helping busy adults, as probably you are, learning a language, for example, by designing the curriculum and the program so that all topics, the older ones, are also reviewed I would say even in an enjoyable way. So that's we do try to make also the classes fun, but not childish, but fun learning process. So if you come to the class, of course, then we can help you. If you are not there, we cannot. So in summary, for this part, if you are taking a group course, the main part is don't worry about being unprepared in case it happens, and come to the class. And of course, if you have time, it is better to revise in between. But if there is totally no time, it is better to come to the class and prepare than not coming at all. And then if you are already on the lesson, then we will help you revise. So if your schedule changes, because things like that happen as well. Your schedule changes and this is something that you haven't planned at work, something changes and you can't connect to the classes, like you cannot dial in and participate in this particular time because group classes are live in like very precise moment in time in the week, because we have like once a week lessons. Some of our students, for example, in situations like that, they switch to individual classes. So we discuss the options, opportunities, possibilities right now with our timetable as well. And then in lots of situations like that, if they have to change the group classes or drop out at all, very often we go to individual classes or continue learning and then in their chosen times, or maybe we have some alternative for them as well. So if you are talking about schedule changing, let's go to the other reason that's also like to like life happens. So let's talk and maybe show you how we can what we can do in situation like that. So this is, let's say, financial situations change. So when you sign up for our courses, in general, our students know the course duration, the prices, the total cost of the course, because the total cost of the course is because we know how many lessons it is with the course as such, and then you can go to the next level, let's say, continue the studies. And we also don't have any additional costs like textbooks, other books that you don't know about, or some licenses, applications that it is needed for you to use, to buy, etc. So everything you need, it is included in the price that you see on our website and the moment that you sign up. But unplanned life situations also happen in your life. So life happens simply. You have to change your work, the job. Maybe you unfortunately lose your job in between, or your life situation changes because of any reasons, and it impacts you financially. Of course, we cannot help you in Języcznie Caucasus with your finances. That's obvious. But what we can do, if you let us know this is the reason that you have to drop out from the course, we can support you from the language perspective. So if, for example, students let me know that they have to withdraw from the course and they cannot participate because of the financial reasons, for example, I always advise on how to first level, this is to maintain the current language level. So what they can do, not to totally forget everything they have been studying, and how to revise it with the materials. They have access to materials. We discuss what are the options for them to use it, etc. And so the topics that you have already covered in the course. So how can you, let's say, maintain the level of the knowledge? So that's how we are coming to closer to the strategy number 2 of learning Armenian, Georgian or Azerbaijani, because it is very important to maintain the contact with the language. If you just have the possibility, let's say from the time perspective, and even if it's just briefly, you just have like brief contact with the language, still it is better than nothing. So one way to revise it is, for example, subscribe to our newsletter, the Caucasian Mail, where I once a week send out a quick 5-minute revision tips for busy people. available. It is adjusted to all our three languages, Armenian, Georgian, and Azerbaijani. This is not exercise per se, so this is not like you don't have sentences just to fill in the blanks, etc. But this is something that you can do commuting to work, doing your dishes, or jogging, etc. This is something that you can do just 5 minutes connection, let's say, brief connection with the language and revision what you already know. We often also see students return to the courses as well after they, let's say, situation stabilizes, changes as well for the better, or even if it's after several years. So what we do then we choose the best groups for them if they want to study on a group course, and they continue learning. Also, this is sometimes if your reasons are for discontinuing, let's say, the course are similar, I always suggest some alternatives. For example, there are some other available materials. This is, of course, different from learning directly with a teacher on a group course, because this is different learning method, etc. One of the reasons why we have published as well Georgian textbooks on our website, the ebooks for self-study, and this is exactly in self-study format, so you can just purchase, download it, and start learning Georgian immediately with audios, with all the grammar and words, vocab explained, etc., with lots of exercises. And we are right now preparing also, let's say, additional ebooks on different levels for you. So this is, like, say, a budget-friendly option alternative if you're comfortable, of course, with learning on your own. This is a little bit different process, but still it is much better than just not being able to continue and just stop at all. So our students who are participating in our courses and they have to drop up, withdraw, stop learning, they also can, of course, use the materials that were during the course they were on. And what we do, we advise how to go further, let's say, or maintain the level. So this is if you are in a situation like that, maybe you are learning on your own and you don't have that much time as well to let's say, to learn and as long in the week as you would like to. Maybe these are also some alternatives for you. And let's go to the last reason that I wanted to discuss with you during our today's podcast. So you are surprised by how much free time you have for learning. Or maybe you are surprised how much free time you don't have for learning. So this is somewhat related to the first reason that we're talking about today. But let's break it down separately because there is also additional strategy I would like to share it with you. And I'm talking here about the situation where you realize you currently have no time or you have not enough time to attend the classes. At the beginning, when you were signing up, you thought I have time, great, I will do it somehow, etc. But after a few weeks, after a few months, because some of our courses, for example, they are up to 5 months, it turns out that other personal or professional matters or reasons come up, and you are totally not able to find the time for Georgian, Armenian, or Azerbaijani course. Yeah, so the remedy, as I said, if you feel unprepared previously, then just come to the classes. But sometimes it happens like it is totally impossible. You have, for some reason, totally no time. So attending the classes whenever you can, this is crucial. But sometimes this is also what I noticed with some of our students in general. It is somehow, and for some people, difficult to imagine and calculate how how much time it is really needed for learning. For me, this is I do it immediately, but I'm professional, in teaching adults. So this is what I do on daily basis. But maybe you are in totally different field. So let's look at how to calculate the time. Like I would say realistically, or I would even call it at a minimum. If you have more, that's awesome. But this is the minimum that you would need if you are thinking about group classes. It will be similar to individual ones, but then you have to this amount of time of classes a week. You have to recalculate looking at your schedule of learning. So this is strategy number 3. For learning Azerbaijani, Armenian, or Georgian, if you are thinking about the group classes or individual as well. So first, what we do, we calculate the time spent on the classes, like in the classes itself. Let's say it is a group course, because for individual, as I said, it can be differently. We have some students who are learning once a week. We have some students who are learning 5 days a week, 5 times a week. So it really depends on the individual person. But let's look at the group course. So once a week, our course is for 1 hour and a half. And this is the time that you need for a week, 1 hour and a half, without being completely tired. So it means that your brain can still absorb the information. Yeah. So let's go to a little bit of story and fun fact. Maybe, I don't know if you know this, but I also speak Korean. I know Korean. Roughly, it is like intermediate, pre-intermediate level. And my wonderful teacher at that time, because I had a longer break, and right now I'm coming back to my Korean lessons. So my wonderful teacher from some time ago, who got me to this level, like she made me, let's say, by lots of exercises and cheering, etc., make to this intermediate, pre-intermediate level. She lived at the time in Korea for most of our time in general when we were learning. Like she was teaching me, I was learning with her. And already that time I was living in Poland. Because I'm Polish, by the way, if you don't know this about me. So between Poland and Korea, it is more or less, let's say, 8 hours apart. I really wanted to study with her. I do believe she is an awesome teacher. So I had my classes at that time. There was a period in time when we were studying in my time, 10 p.m. for a while. So that she is able to get up for the classes. Yeah, so she is already conscious, let's say, and she woke up before the classes. And let me tell you, after like a full day of work, because still at that time I was working as a manager and coach in a corporation, one of the corporations, international ones at the time, and after the full day of learning, of working, my understanding and this, let's say, cognitive possibilities and efficiency during the classes, my Korean classes, was very low, very low. It was the moments like we were talking one thing, then I forget it because I was so tired. Then I had no idea what we were talking about, etc. I struggled a lot, but I was very determined. But then I thought, no, it's not working. So we changed the hours a little bit. And also I thought how I can make me less tired before the classes, or a little bit, let's say, woken up. And my learning results immediately improved. I felt that right now I can learn a lot, I remember a lot, it's much faster, etc. That is why, coming back to from this maybe long story to our main topic, that is why I mentioned you need to take into consideration the time that you will have some brain power, let's say, for studying. So this is 1.5 hours, but you have to think during this 1.5 hours. So the second block of the time in a week, if when we are looking at how much time do you need, is the time you need for the revisions. So I told you that if you are not prepared, it is better to come. But in general, of course, your learning process will be much efficient, and probably you would just feel also better in this learning process when you'll have a little bit time in between the classes that you can revise the material. So if you're a busy adult, as for example I am, I do recommend spending at least calculate 15 minutes between classes, like 2-3 times a week, like these slots of time. If you have more time, that's awesome, that's great. You can spend more time to the extent that you'll be bored and that will be dull. That this is also something that we don't want, especially at the beginning. We have tendency to spend more and more time, then we get tired and then think, oh my gosh, that was so horrible and tiresome. So it's better to start with 15 minutes than 50. And this 15-minute quick reviewing, for example, the alphabet, if you're just starting, reviewing with our quick interactive exercises, is time much better spent than searching for in your calendar. And usually, from my experience working with adults, usually not finding the whole hour in your busy day to study. Just like that. So that is also one of the reasons why I started sending in our newsletter these 5-minute revisions. I love them. I use them. I not only collect, see what other people are doing, but also come up with these different types of revisions also for myself, because I run a company. I learned right now 3 different languages. I prepare to be a sworn translator in Georgian. So, and I have a life and family. I have lots of things going on. That's why I do know how busy adult schedule works and how hard it is sometimes to just find and, let's say, conquer this 15 minutes of time so that you can go further with your studies. So as I mentioned about revisions and exercises, so let's say it out loud and in open. Yes, our students get homework. So, of course, this is not mandatory. This is not that we say, oh, you haven't done your homework, you are so bad student, etc. No, we are not. We don't have we are not 5 years old. And we are not in preschool, and we don't, of course, grade it. You don't get grades unless you really, really want to. But we in jokes aside, we don't do things like that. This is not a school. You are learning for yourself. And the homework as such, this is some, let's say, easier version for you to revise. So this is additional revision exercises. We also have bunch of interactive exercises that lots of our students simply like and love. This is like puzzles, crosswords, match the words, etc. with pictures, things like that. Also, we have and we give you as a homework some exercises from our textbooks, or this is like listening or reading some dialogues, preparing your own, etc. So something that will help you remember, revise a new topic, a vocab that we have been looking at for some time, etc. Yeah, so this is, and very often what we do in our classes, we give you, let's say, options. For example, if very often I'm already working with some groups, we see that some people in this, for example, let's say a month, they have more time. Some people have less time in this particular month. So then very often we do, I would say, optional homework. So for example, something that it is the first 2 exercises, something that if you'll have time, this is something for you, like a priority to focus on. And then if you'll have more time, this is something additionally extra. Yeah, and something that also will not influence badly on the whole group if you'll know more, etc. So this is like additional revision and things like that. So very often also we work in this way, and then it really helps you. Like this is why I say about the homework, because this is really like additional revision options that you don't have to think about this yourself. You just get the exercises, because maybe you don't know this about me, but I do hate learning things by heart, just revising things, saying words out loud and looking at the list of words, etc., without any additional exercises. I just hate it from school. So this is my personal goal, to make everything that you don't have to do it as well. So we have lots of other exercises that will make this learning process fun, or at least more fun. Yeah. So that's why when you are thinking about how much time you would need for learning when you're starting the group course, it is worth considering finding at least, let's say, 2 or 3 times a week this slot of 15-minute study possibility between the classes, in between the classes, to simply review the material, look at new words, read some dialogue, listen to something that we're doing during classes. Or if we are thinking about the beginning, so the alphabet level, A11, in Georgian, Armenian, Azerbaijani as well, this is the time that you spend on writing the letters simply. So we have additional also study materials at these levels that will help you with learning the alphabets much faster, and learning not only to read, also to recognize the letters, but also to write, because you do have to learn the alphabet if you want to learn Georgian, Armenian, or Azerbaijani, although this is Latin, but learn the letters that are typical for Azerbaijani. So, and as I mentioned, the methods as well, it is helpful, the ones that I share with our newsletter, the Caucasian Mail. So if for any reason you are not there, you are not part of our newsletter, this is free of charge, open newsletter. You just have to sign up, so then we can send you email. The link for that you will find in the description of today's episode. So you may just click there and sign up, and you'll get weekly, let's say, tips and weekly exercises how you can revise on your own. That's the feedback we get. This is very, very helpful. So we have covered 3, but I have a bonus information, so additional something that I thought may be interesting as well, because we get lots of questions from our students and future students about this. So this is our statistics on which topics are the hardest to catch up if you are absent from the class. So yeah, if you are not present, for example, for 2-3 lessons or even 1, so which topics are the hardest? So in Armenian and Georgian at the beginning, probably based on what I already said, that won't be a surprise. This is the alphabet and the alphabet level. So when you are, let's say, present on one lesson, then you are not participating in the next one, then you are back, then you are not participating, etc. So, and in between, probably you don't have that much time to practice writing, recognizing letters, and working simply with all the materials that you have and that you have from us, then it is quite difficult to catch up. Yeah. So then simply because everything then is based on the alphabet, and then we are just focusing on the next grammatical parts, the new words, and because we take, let's say, for granted, we know already that you know the letters. And if you're struggling a little bit with the letters and then with new words and with new grammar, it is very often too much. The remedy for that is very simple. Just come to the classes and we'll be learning that together. If you're absent, and at this stage, it is very hard to catch up. That's our experience, unfortunately. I would say, if you'll have time, because we have success stories, maybe let's add it as well. We have some success stories from our students that they were not present that much. They were like 1 lesson on, 1 lesson off, then back, etc. But they had time in between on different days. They have planned it beforehand to study on their own with the materials. So you have the materials, you can do it on your own. You have additional workbook and exercises, so you can do it, but you just need to have time. If you totally don't have time for 3 weeks and then you want to catch up, that will be very hard. So just to be aware of that when you are deciding that this is the moment I want to sign up for a course. So, as I mentioned, each student receives from us additional materials. This is like to practice writing, because we are not writing in the class. This is something that you do as a homework, and then we are discussing, let's say, the letters that are hard, or we are just practicing based on what you have tried on your own. And also learning the Georgian and Armenian alphabets with these study materials are much, much faster. This is our experience. But of course, as I mentioned, you need some time at home if you are not present during the more time, let's say, at home if you're not present during the classes to do this. In Azerbaijani, the alphabet is easier because most of the letters are the same, let's say, as in English or in general the Latin alphabet. Maybe if you compare it with English, some letters may be pronounced differently and some like typical for Azerbaijani. But if you, this is like you can recognize the letters as such. So it is a little bit different. However, the harder part, I would say, for catching up after a longer absence, it is the introduction of the concept of the harmony in our Azerbaijani language. This is, if you know Turkish, this is a little bit similar. And let's say various suffixes that we start with. So, for example, from to form and to create the present tense. So the concept itself, not to scare you off, the concept itself is very logical. It is quite simple, although this is different from what we know in, for example, English, Polish, Russian, German, etc., Spanish, or French. Yeah, so I can, the list is long. So if the concept is different, that's why it is somehow and sometimes harder to catch up on your own. And that is why it is especially important not to skip these classes or not to skip them, let's say, in a bundle. So not to be absent for a longer time. In Georgian, for example, this is also the moment when the concepts of verb conjugation kicks in, and when we start discussing the creation of, let's say, standard sentences and the cases as such, because if you know just English and you don't know in Armenian, this is a little bit this is similar, yeah, with cases as a concept. If you don't know a language where there are cases, so the nouns are changing, let's say, in general. So at the moment that we are discussing that, we are explaining that, we also have lots of, let's say, success stories with just English speakers not knowing cases at all, and the concept as such, they are using it very fluently and without any, or not without any big problems, maybe let's say it like that. But if you are not present during the classes and you don't have time to review it on your own and then come with your questions, then it will be very hard to catch up if the group goes further and already like past this point of introduction and just already starts using it in different situations. So the third case, the cases, this is the basis of Georgian sentences. This is also very heavily used in Armenian sentences, in virtually all the tenses. So that is why it is like, let's say, one of the crucial moments when it would be good to be present during the course. So that's these are the main ones, let's say, because if you already start and learn the basics, the logic of the language, then my experience, at least in our courses, is that further it is much easier, because then it is more about learning new vocab, etc. Of course, still like big topics, but it is more on like intermediate levels. So if you're just starting, these are the main like, let's say, game changing moment of your learning language. So I hope that this showed you a little bit more how it is with the group courses, how it is with learning Armenian, Azerbaijani, Georgian, and counting how much time do you have, etc. And of course, if you are thinking about learning Armenian, Azerbaijani, or Georgian, and you are looking for the group courses or individual lessons with a teacher, I hope today's episode helped you determine whether this is the time for you, or maybe help you avoid any like most common, let's say, pitfalls, anything that you haven't thought even of. And now You know the reasons for dropping out of a course like that, and if you're interested in choosing a course for you, you can, if you want to learn Armenian, Georgian, or Azerbaijani, of course, go to our website. The link for that you will find in the show notes. This is języki.kaukazu.pl, but maybe it will be easier to click on the link that it is below. And if you don't know which study methods, which course, etc., let's meet and discuss. I invite you for 15-minute conversation with me, and I'll advise you, I'll help you choose the best learning methods, or maybe I will tell you that something for sure won't work based on my experience. So the link to schedule such a short meeting you will find in the show notes of today's episode as well. Thank you very much for today. And it appeared to be longer than I planned, but I wanted to share some of our experience and make your learning process as smooth and easy as it is possible for you of learning Georgian, Armenian, or Azerbaijani. And if you like this episode, you can also share it with another person who thinks about starting learning these languages or taking the course, for example, a group course. And I hope we'll meet in the next episode of the Caucasus podcast, or maybe in our newsletter in the Caucasian Mail, when I will be sending you some tips how to each and every week to quickly revise whatever you already know in the language. Thank you very much for today, and bye bye. See you in the next one.